put him on the ground, cuffed him, body weight on his back, and then ended up standing him up, walked him over to the sidewalk on the other side to get him out the street. By this point, another one of the players on the Dolphins team comes up and is like, yo, what's up?
Tastemakers.
Class. We do more than make a living, we make a life. When everything is dark, we are the light. We are the tastemakers, aight. Let tomorrow tell the stories that we make tonight. We do more than make a living.
Here first, let's talk about Tyreek Hill and Miami-Dade Popo.
I feel like I know who that is.
I'm sure that y'all done, and this is right in your backyard. Well, not your backyard, but it's in Florida. Let's see here. And so, of course, for those who don't know, Tyreek Hill, wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
Early Sunday morning, he's on his way to the stadium, and he gets pulled over. It's a lot of rigmarole and back and forth and different things of that nature. And, but yeah, a lot has come out of that. We've gotten a little bit more information. We've seen body cams now and all that jazz. And I just want to quickly talk about some thoughts. We'll start with the lawyer.
What they did to the baby?
Oh, listen now. You didn't see none of the... No?
What they did?
Okay. All right, we're gonna start with Brenda. We'll hear it.
I haven't seen the video either, but I've
Y'all
seen
some
bits and pieces of
No,
clips.
we talking
But I
about
haven't
some-
seen it.
God, we
I'm-
sent all them
I'm gonna
materials
need
for
y'all
the
to know
I know
that y'all
what
do a
happened,
show.
but I haven't seen it.
We got a whole schedule and everything. You know when you're gonna be on. You know when you need to pay
Yeah,
attention
but media
to
comes with the
TVs
topics
and content.
Mr. I picked the topics around here ain't send none. So
Listen.
All right, I'm gonna try to give a play-by-play.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Tyreek Hill's driving in his car. He might have had like a McLaren or something like that. Super dope, black on black. I was peeping all of that, pocket watching. Anyway, that aside, he pulls up and he was speeding. He was doing $10 over the 10 miles over the speed
I
limit.
like how $10 feels though. Keep that.
Yeah. He was doing 10 miles over the speed limit, and they went to go.
Was he
pull him
just doing 10 miles over the speed limit?
Allegedly, yes.
Really?
10 miles over the speed limit in a lane that apparently is designated specifically for media and athletes that are getting special pass to the stadium. The stadium on which his face is on the side of. So he's driving, and pull him over. He ends up kind of pulling over, but I guess he's like, I'm a star. I don't want nobody to see me or whatever. I don't want nobody to see me getting pulled over, getting a ticket. So he has his window rolled up, and one of the officers comes and he starts tapping on his glass with, I don't know, it was a nightstick or his hand, and he kind of cracked the window. And he kind of cracked the window, was like, yo, don't be banging on my glass like you crazy.
Period.
And he, asked him to get out the car, and another officer came up behind him and was like, yo, do you know who that is? And that just kind of sent it a little further because he was in his feelings about whatever. They got him to open the door and ended up taking him out the car, and he was pretty much like, yo, just give me my ticket, let me go, be about my business or whatever. But he was talking kind of crazy at the same time because the idea of I'm in my rights, I don't got to get out of the car for this. It's a traffic stop. Just give me my ticket, let me be out. And they asked him to open the door. They made him open the door. By this point, there's 3 police officers there. They snatched him out the car, put him down on the ground and cuffed him. Body weight on his
what?
Put him on the ground, cuffed him, body weight on his back, and then ended up standing him up, walked him over to the sidewalk on the other side to get him out the street. By this point, another one of the players on the Dolphins team comes up and is like, yo, what's up? What's going on? And he's telling them, call Drew. Drew Rosenhaus is his agent. Drew Rosenhaus is like the god of all agents.
Agents in NFL, yeah.
Yeah, so he's like, get him on the phone, and they don't want him involved either. So now they're threatening him. You need to back away, sir. We're going to have you in cuffs and everything else. Tyreek is standing on the sidewalk, already in cuffs. They've already got his license and everything, running his stuff, and then they try to get him down to have a seat on the ground. And he's like, I just had surgery on my knee. And the same officer who had all the butt energy that was like, I don't care who you are, kind of rushed over and tried to kind of like bang into his back to force him onto the ground.
Wow.
So all of it is all bad. Eventually they ended up wrapping things up. He got to the game, scored his touchdown. When he scored his touchdown celebration was to put his hand behind his back like he was cuffed. and he's now calling for that officer's job. That officer has lawyers that have allegedly reached out to Tyreek Hill's people to apologize, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't want your apology. I want your job."
Period.
Okay.
That's
The
the
cap ain't not
shortest way
his
I can sum
job.
that
You
up.
So
need to
so
lose
so so
yours.
a couple things I didn't realize, or a couple things you hit me to, but then there's one joint I wanted to ask you about, but a couple joints you hit me to. I didn't realize that for one, this was quote unquote a special lane for media and athletes.
Yeah, I heard something about that. As far as that's how that stadium works. Like they have
Okay.
when there's traffic and everything, they kind of control it in a certain way so that certain people are supposed to be able to ride through a certain area. Whether
No.
that's the case or not, I guess I did say it like it's fully factual. I don't fully know, but either
Okay.
way, you know who that man is. Like I said, his face is on the stadium.
Number two,
Jealousy.
um, number two, I didn't hear what verified. You were the first one I've ever heard say that it was only 10 miles over the speed limit.
Yeah, I've seen that reported a few different places.
Okay, okay. I know the cop said he eyeballed him going 60. I figured close, and
You
he said
eyeball
eyeballed.
somebody
He
going. How do
eyeballed
you
exactly.
eyeball
Yeah,
somebody?
listen. The
Wow.
cops say he eyeballed him going
The
60.
cop go to court with that.
I figure in that area, I mean, it's probably no more than 35. What you think in that area that close to the stadium? 35, 40 at the most?
I don't
45
know,
at
but
the most?
the game was going to start in like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So I'm sure
Which means it would have been
he was
already.
very late.
Yeah, he was late, but it was very also extreme. It would be extremely packed. So couple things.
Key got a good suggestion in the chat.
Oh Lord, Kira said, "Well, Tyreek should date his daughter and move her to the hood, get her a face, lace front, and everything." I was just about to say a face tattoo. Listen, so here's my thing. Oh
Dang,
yeah, I thought I
close.
was about to say face tattoo. So I didn't know about some of the joints that Charles is talking about. I didn't realize that. I figured he was at least going. In my thought process, I don't know this to be true at all, but based on what the cop had said, I figured that he was probably at least going 20, 25 miles over the speed limit. I figured that much, whatever the case may be. Which I could be dead wrong on that. This is just based on the cop saying the cop said he eyeballed him at 60. How you eyeball anyway? So listen. So this is what I don't get. How you trained to de-escalate situations?
Never.
How you? That's what I don't get. People like for instance, I think there are parts of that video where I would say I feel like Tyreek was acting like an a-hole. Now,
Absolutely.
I think shots out to Lost and Found in the chat. I think John H
Lost
said
and
it earlier.
Found.
He was on his rich nigga energy, and he was to an extent. And
That's how
again,
they are.
listen, niggas, listen, because when Charles just said this, it made me feel some kind of way. Charles said the man's face is on the building. I had to think about it. I was like, dang, the man's face is on the building.
As you drive up to stadiums, dog,
As
all
I
the
drive up to the
flags.
stadium with my face on it.
Before you
Listen.
even get to the stadium, if you're driving and they got the flags representing the team and this, that, and the third, he is their star player.
Yes, there
On
are.
a team of 53 people that wear helmets, you know his face.
Listen, I ain't gonna front. I was trying to be Mr. Humble, Mr. We do, Tyreek acting like an a-hole. But I'm looking at myself if I was how old Tyreek? What, he late 20s?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh gosh.
He might be like
Goodness
29,
gracious.
something like
Me
that.
in my late 20s, saved and everything, and my face is on that building. Why are you pulling me over? I can
But
just, oh
John
my
H is saying
God.
his
That's the
face is not
gas
on
of
the
all
building. They don't
gas
have him
right there,
painted
bro.
anywhere out there. They don't
Hold
have
on.
any graphics or nothing.
Well, who say what?
John H said he was there for the game. That's cap. So his face is not on the building. They don't have graphics of their players. They don't have their superstars on the programs. They don't have the banners of the street on the streets
So
driving up on all the signs. They don't have none of that with Tyreek Hill involved.
Now I need to see it. I need to know if Tyreek's face is on the building. Because listen, if Tyreek's face is on the building, I mean, especially if I'm in my late 20s and
I'll tell you what you need to know.
in my $300,000 car, you can't tell me nothing. Listen, and I'm sorry, this is not the position I wanted to take. But when Charles said his face is on the building, it did something to me. Do you understand? It did something to me. So listen,
He's got his own money.
but listen. Either way, he is literally their star player. He literally is their star player. You know what I mean? Without a shadow of a doubt. And so I can understand a late 20-year-old individual in his state driving the car he drives, being a little a-hole-ish. You know what I mean? As he's pulled over right near the stadium where he's about to put 130 yards and a touchdown up. You know what I mean? And since he's on my fantasy team, I needed him to score all them points. You understand what I'm saying? Because I won my league this week. Anyway, I won my game this week. But listen, my point being is, I do think Tyreek was acting like a bit of an a-hole a little bit. You feel what I'm saying? You might even say a lot of bit. But when are the people who are the professionals and trained to de-escalate going to do that? Like, we're talking civilian versus training. Like, you're supposed to be up here. Like, your job is to protect and serve. We're not on the same level. By any means, we're not on the same level.
Whose job is it for them to protect and serve?
Wow.
What does the law say and how is it interpreted? I'm asking,
advocate,
in all honesty, lawyer, please step in.
They probably, like, in all reality, you know, stories that make it to the news make it to the news for a reason. Well, we acknowledge that there's plenty of cops doing their job the right way, de-escalating situations every day. But that's not sexy. It doesn't end up in your news feed, you know? But still, annoying, and obviously, somebody's just jelly beans. It's just, that's it to me, plain and simple.
Yeah, it got reported because there was somebody across the street or maybe like a few lanes over that just stopped their car and started recording it, and then they posted it to social media and other people started picking it up.
Just nasty and jealous. That's all.
So another thing.
Make sure people know their place, which
Charles,
is not really their place.
That the cop was told who it was early in the situation. From what I was watching, it felt like he was told who it was later on in the situation. Am I wrong?
So I'm not sure exactly when it happened. I thought it happened after either the second or third cop got there. Once this point, the doors open and they're like, yo, like, do you know who that is?
Okay, so the way I saw it, watching the body cam, where I saw it, by the time the cop figured out who it is, Tyreek is out, Calais Campbell is cuffed, and he's on his laptop writing the report, and the dude says, do you know who this is? And he's like, no. And he's like, he's their star player, or whatever the case may be. And he's like, oh, okay.
His fellow officer asked him that, or dude in the car with dude.
This would have been the body cam of the guy who was extremely aggressive.
Okay. There's another
who's
body
the one
cam.
that said, do you know who this is? A fellow officer?
A fellow officer, yeah.
A fellow officer say, do you know who this is? Chill. Even if you don't know the answer. Like, that's an indicator that
listen, Tasha, you're close.
About to trip, and this isn't the situation in which
you that close to the Miami Dolphins stadium with that kind of vehicle there, and then a almost 300-pound, 6-foot joker like Calais Campbell gets out of an SUV.
Yeah,
you know what time it is. These are football players. Like, what are we talking about?
Just more to take down. That was all about that. His car alone
let you know he got some kind of bread. And like to Judon's point, I mean, granted, it was kind of a-hole-ish, but to be like, yo, don't knock on my window like that. Just give me my ticket. Technically,
he was
traffic violation.
That's
all it requires.
Listen,
but he was compliant.
Listen, my car ain't 30% of his car, and you knock on my glass too hard, and you're gonna have me feeling some kind of way. Do you feel me?
Right. Yeah.
Listen.
Especially if all it is a traffic violation, dog. Give me my ticket. I'm gonna go about my business.
So that's and John H does pose a good point there. Shouts out to Lost and Founds in the chat if I already didn't say that. He said those cars are all over Miami. That's
What
Okay,
car?
that don't mean they're cheap.
no. It's just saying as it's probably not as a surprise as it is for somebody like me to see one on the road where I live versus them to see them in Miami. I still feel
Hold on.
like
Doodle,
you
That's
who
get
you know
that
what?
who
close
just
to
Listen,
the
said?
though.
stadium.
I just left
What
LA.
part of Miami you talking about?
Dog, I
You
just left
talking?
LA. There's so many people out there with Rolls Royces. So for me to look up and be like, I could drive past a Bentley on the freeway and then 3 or 4 miles up past a Phantom and past a whatever. It is what it is. It doesn't
I
mean
need
that
to
I
know
don't
what corner
think,
of Miami we're talking about.
I'm just
The
saying that doesn't
phrase
mean that I
that
don't
they're all
expect
over
for
the
those
place
people
is
in
a
those vehicles
little.
to be of some level of
I don't
status or
know.
have some level of bread.
Uh, yeah.
Everybody ain't driving $300,000 vehicles. That's for
I'm
sure.
No,
saying,
no.
no matter how many of them you see.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
ain't that common.
I hear you. Well, so anyway, like I said, that's my whole complaint about the situation, and it's just the level of pride and vitriol. It's just it does make me. I wasn't on fire the cat kind of stuff, just because I don't be trying to take people's jobs for them. But the more I think about it, and this is just me right now, the level of pride, the level of vitriol, it be too much. You can't have all that power. You got a badge and a gun. You got all that power, and you don't know how to handle it. I just don't. It's I don't know. You got to
It's
be able to wield your power better than that. You feel what I'm
it's
saying?
very too much. It's very too much.
Yeah, the internet worked fast. They found this man's LinkedIn page like
Oh,
by
come
the end of the
on,
day.
man.
For
Wow.
real,
I'm not surprised.
man. Yeah.
All
And it was
right.
Yeah,
so
Pierre is
Well,
mad
I'm
petty in
glad
the
he came
chat.
out of it alive.
well, yeah, and that was he came out of it alive. He did. So that is that. Yeah, it's just it was just power, popularity can happen to anybody, that kind of thing. Yeah, which brought up some interesting discussions about we as black people have always put the onus on us to make sure we got out of those situations alive, putting no onus on the cop because we just don't trust that they're gonna do the right thing by any means. And so yeah, it's just an interesting conversation because there were a lot of people who were on Tyreek's neck about how he was acting. But again, a hole civilian versus a hole cop with a badge
It's a
is
power dynamic.
we are not the same. You feel what I'm saying? We are just not the same by any means. These are two different. These are two different situations. Two
Not
different.
only that, and again, I don't like to bring the racial aspect into it or whatever, but just the idea of how many videos do we see of white people, specifically white men, standing their ground against officers. There's a video that just went viral, I think last week, of a dude getting pulled over by a cop that followed him home because he tried to get him to stop. He wouldn't stop until he got to his driveway. And once he got in his driveway, felt like, I'm on my property. You're on my property. Get the F out my face. Who do you think you're talking to? To the officer as he's standing in front of him and walking towards him aggressively. Wasn't tased, wasn't apprehended, no nothing. And you could easily see that going a different way had it been somebody of color. So that's why I bring into question, and again, I don't study the law, but the idea of, according to the letter of the law, who are they to serve and protect? Are
I
there
mean,
clauses and things that exist in there?
certain rules that govern how the police do their policing have always been unwritten. And if you want to sit down one day and look into the recent undercover operations undertaken by the FBI into the just inordinate overlap of not police academies, but police organizations and the KKA in similar groups. The infiltration is like, it's almost that Venn diagram is almost like a flat circle, because you know we got to remember where the police came from, who created them, and what they were created for. So
Four, right?
that
Yeah,
legacy, unfortunately, still lives on, and it makes the news more often than those who truly are there to serve and protect,
yeah.
Yeah.
as
So,
it should until the problem goes away.
all right. So that's Tyreek Hill and his situation there. Good thing everybody made it out okay. I guess Tyreek is trying to get the dude fired now. It was. How did y'all feel about the NFL? Do y'all feel like the NFL stood behind Tyreek in a way that they would not have in the past? Did anybody feel that way at all?
I don't know if I saw much of anything from the NFL. I saw other
Or at least the
players.
Miami Dolphins?
I saw other players on the Dolphins make their comments, and the coach stepped up and said something about it in
The
a post.
Miami Dolphins released a report too. They released
Okay, I missed that.
they made a statement. It's for sure quickly, and it was very uh very what's the word, very hard on the cops, very
Oh, okay.
yeah, very backing their player.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you,
I
John.
love
Yeah, John, as John H said, the Dolphin statement was pretty strong.
We like that. We like that.
Yeah,
Get it
so
together. Yeah, we want to see the NFL get it
so
together on
and
these
that's it. Like I
conversations.
said, we could talk about Tyreek doing some rich nigga things, young man, lot of money, car, late 20s. Y'all know how we acted in our late 20s. Some of us, or whatever the case may be, or just how easy for us it was it for us to act a certain way. My point is, one of us are civilian, one of us is a trained professional with a badge and a gun.
Well, I
And it's
mean,
just there's just got to be a different
a
level of
trained professional
responsibility.
invokes a lot. You'll be surprised how little it takes to get into the academy, to get into the profession
Oh no
of
no
law
no!
enforcement. Now,
Yeah.
I say that only because I just recently found out in recent years that it takes much less than I thought it did. It's just like it really. And I'm not saying this is not to downplay the racial aspect of it at all, because again, that's where the roots are. But just the mere fact of you're giving so much power to someone who's ignorant, to a lot of people who are just ignorant, you know? And by ignorant, I don't mean you're necessarily ignorant just because you got a high school diploma. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like there's a certain culture. There's a certain culture you invite when you don't raise certain requirements, when you don't put certain hurdles between members of the public and this profession. I think it's way too easy to become a cop.
That's probably a very good point. I actually started thinking about some people I know who are officers, and I'm like, hold on, I know them. They probably should not.
Probably
Anyway,
should
you
have a gun.
know what I'm saying? Like, I had to, you know what I'm
Probably shouldn't even
saying?
have a taser.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, and listen. I see what Litany's saying. I see what John H is saying, and I don't necessarily not agree with the sentiment y'all are making. I just would ask y'all to say there should be a difference, though, right? Like a civilian acting like an a hole versus a cop acting like an a hole. Like the repercussions are, you know, took an oath to protect and serve, supposed to
Correct.
de-escalate situations. Like these are just not the same things. I would at least like y'all to acknowledge
One of
that.
these
I would
things
also
is
like to
not
just
like
pose
the
the
other.
question, and it's not necessarily for you to answer in the chat directly, John H, unless you choose to do so. If you put yourself in the shoes of someone who's at celebrity status, you're getting pulled over in a public place, and you don't necessarily want to make the news or be on anybody's timeline and social media because they're recording you. So you roll your windows up, you get on the phone with your agent to have them be able to walk you through how to handle this stop. And the first thing that you get is apparently an aggressive tap on your window, on your expensive window. Are you able to say that you would be able to withstand that aggressive tap maintain your composure and just be like, all right, let me just comply? Or would you be like, hey, dog, what you doing hitting my glass so hard?
Listen,
And then once the window is rolled down and you're already communicating, they then decide to proceed to pull you out of the vehicle, something you did not need to have take place, and handcuff you, something that was unnecessary considering the level of offense that was had. Like I'm just curious as to how that goes. Don't get me wrong, Tyreek is absolutely responsible for how he handled himself. But to quote's point, there should be a greater level of responsibility placed on the people that are trained to to de-escalate situations, to deal with it, to understand, okay, for this violation, it requires this level of action. Oh, you're disrespecting me. How do I now, with my training, make sure that I don't get in my feelings and my pride hurt and still continue to maintain this interaction in a professional manner? This is having talked to detectives who actually conduct trainings at police academies that would tell you this is the wrong way to go about it as an officer.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and just to even and again, we're not saying Tyreek didn't act a certain way, but I do want. I would like for us to put ourselves in his situation. A lot of us are a little bit older, whether it's late 30s, whether it's 40s, whether it's whatever it might be. A lot of us are a little bit older. We have to think about how we were when we were a little bit younger, right? Then we have to put on the magnification of the amount of money, celebrity
Mm-hmm.
status,
Mm-hmm.
material joints, and what
Mm-hmm.
that does to a young man's head. You know what I mean? Whatever the case may be. Like I said, I can't speak for anybody else. I know in my early 20s, mid 20s, and whatever the case may be, I struggled heavy with pride, and I ain't have nothing. Ain't done nothing. I struggled with pride and they had nothing. You feel what I'm saying? I could imagine what a dude. I can't imagine what a young man in that situation thinks from a pride standpoint. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
people are looking at it from, and sorry, there's, and I know I hate like, and I always engage with the chat and get a little too much into it. I believe that there's a lack of understanding from the perspective in which that man lives. You in your 20s, me in my 20s, being trained by our parents to have a level of home training is not the same as giving a 19, 20, 21 year old X amount of millions of dollars, and now they have access, power, and a level of being absolved of whatever level of, and shoot, before they even get paid, it starts in college where there's absolution due to whatever egregious level of offense, crime, whatever they commit. They call their coaches get stuff taken off the books for them. They call so and so, they reach out to the police station, their record doesn't even get addressed. They just bring them in, they give them a slap on the wrist of talking to, and now they feel like I'm above a level of law because I'm this level of value to this program. If I'm getting paid millions of dollars at the age of 20, I'm able to afford my way out of situations that other people would never even dream of. Why would I think that the rules that apply to all the rest of these people don't apply to me when they haven't applied to me since AAU days?
so so again, Litany, Jamal, and John seem to extremely disagree with this. I just would. I mean, but are you guys? I haven't heard any one of you guys hold the cop or say anything against the officer's
Well, no,
actions at
they
all.
said the officer should be suspended, maybe not lose his job.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
think what they're doing is they're trying their best to not let Tyreek off the hook. And I think that they're misinterpreting what we're saying as being like Tyreek should be absolved of all wrongdoing. That's not the case. We're saying he
No.
did not act accordingly. We're saying
Give
he
it
did
its
not
due
behave
weight.
himself in a manner that was well in being able to try to see the best outcome of the situation. However, there is a greater response to whom much is given, much is required. The person that is in
That
power,
part.
that has the weapon, that has the law behind them, and the backing of the rest of the officers around them, has the greater responsibility to conduct themselves in a manner that does not end in a way where somebody gets hurt or worse. Period.
Yeah.
I don't
Period.
And
care
that's
who
just
you are and how else you look at it. If I'm the man with the gun, it's my responsibility to not kill you. If I'm the man with the nightstick, it's my responsibility to not beat you to death with it. Regardless of how you are, anybody who goes through a martial arts, any level of training for any kind of hand-to-hand combat will tell you, now that I know this is my level of danger to someone else, and this is the level of threat that I pose to them and the amount of damage I can do to them, I have the responsibility to conduct myself in a way where I don't do that. That's why boxers' hands are registered as weapons, and they know I can't just go out and fight somebody in a bar, because if I do, A, I can seriously hurt them. B, with my hands being registered as weapons, I can now face a harsher penalty.
Okay, so obviously I might have missed some of what you guys were saying in the chat, or I guess you guys are saying the same thing, but at the same time, y'all frustrating me a little bit, because I've been pretty clear on this verbally on the camera that they both was in the wrong, but I still feel, and maybe you guys just don't feel this way, that one holds a level of responsibility higher than the others, which is what Charles just articulated as well. So yeah, nobody's trying to give Tyreek a pass by any means. We do at one point trying to get you to maybe see things from his perspective. And again, I still place more onus on the officer, the trained professional with a badge and a gun who swore to protect and serve, more than I do the civilian. But yes, they both were wrong. Yeah. I think we all have said and agreed on that for sure. All right, let's keep these topics rolling here. So, all right. So before
Tastemakers. Class. We do more than make a living, we make a life. When everything is dark, we are the light. We are the tastemakers. Aight. Let tomorrow tell the stories that we make tonight. We do more than make a living, we make